I'm pretty good at using Microsoft Office, and people often actually ask me how it is that I went about learning. And I suppose one of the main things I did is I use Microsoft Office every day, and I always know there's probably a quicker, faster way to do it, and so I look into that. But when I think all the way back, see, I'm a lot older than most of you, and when I started to use Microsoft Office, it probably only had like 3 menus and maybe 20 commands, so it was pretty easy to learn. And then every time some new features came out, so every time there was a new version, I would find out what all the new features were, and that was really easy, and so I'm able to keep myself up to date. I must say, actually, though, in the last few years, I've just moved to Office 2016, and it's now becoming even bigger. I haven't caught up to date with exactly what's new in 2016, so I feel I'm actually probably missing out on some great new features. And if you use Microsoft Office 365, so if you're actually got a subscription, which by the way you all get for free, you can install Microsoft Office. If you have a .edu email address, you can install Microsoft Office on up to 5 computers and laptops and 5 devices. So 5 phones and tablets and 5 computers. And if you have that Office 365 subscription, they're actually pushing out updates all the time. So it's quite difficult to keep on top of nowadays. And also, there's only certain bits of it that you need to know. So how do you learn what you need to learn when you need to learn it? Okay. So why don't we start talking about that? I'm just going to turn my video off so that you don't see me looking like that at the screen. It's not the best look. Okay, stop video. All right. So one of the first ways that I think is a great way to learn is by looking at subscribing to newsletters. So newsletters, vlogs, blogs, webinars, I think is a great way to get involved in learning more, because they're normally quite friendly, and they're normally quite useful, and they're real world. They tend to be giving you tips from the real world. So there's a few that I subscribe to. There's Excel Campus, and also John has got quite a lot of stuff on his website too. So he's got a blog, he's got some different resources in there as well. And so you see there's all sorts of stuff on his website. And I just find that he's got little videos and things. He's got his recent tutorials and blog posts there as well. So the blog, the reason that I like a newsletter rather than is that it comes into my inbox. I can read it when I've got a chance to. I've actually got a rule in Outlook, so all of my newsletters go into a newsletter folder rather than into my inbox, and I then can have a look at them when I have the time to, and I can then click on the links of anything that interests me. So if nothing in the newsletter appeals, I don't have to look at it, whereas if something in the newsletter appeals, I can go and have a look. So as I say, this is one for Excel, so there's all sorts of bits and bobs that we've got in here. Another one that I subscribe to is actually called the Legal Office Guru. So this is a woman who writes a lot about using Microsoft Office in the context of a legal background. Now, you might be going, but I'm not a legal professional. The thing is, legal professionals use Word like you wouldn't believe. So they're writing really, really long documents, really long, complex documents that are cross-referenced and all sorts of things. And that's actually and they have those same sort of issues that you have with a really long document, such as your thesis. So it's actually quite a lot of stuff in here about some sort of basic skills. She's got a little matrix there so you can find out which skills you want. So that's good because, Microsoft Office is the most used productivity software. When you get a job, you will be expected to be able to use it. But it is pretty big and intimidating. Like I say, when I started with a 4 menu and the 20 commands, there's a lot more than that now, and it's quite intimidating. So, being able to find out what skills you need and what to concentrate on is a really great thing. So there she is. There's Deborah. So Deborah, as I say, she sends out a newsletter, and again, it's very friendly and chatty. It has got this sort of legal flavour to it, but as I say, they face similar issues with their long format documents as you would in your thesis. So that's one thing that you can do, is going and having a look at these sort of newsletters. Blogs are great as well because they tend to use real world situations. They're not that sort of dry training that's just completely isolated. Microsoft themselves do some really great blogs, and particularly if you're looking at Office 365, and like I say, them updating all the time, you can keep your head around what's coming by subscribing to their blogs as well. So they're actually quite useful. That's how I found out about the new ifs, nested, so you don't have to use nested if statements anymore in Excel, which is awesome. So yeah, that's my number one way, free way to learn more about Microsoft Office is to subscribe to blogs, vlogs, newsletters, or webinars such as this one. So well done, everyone, you've already started. Okay. The second thing I'm going to talk about, so also what I would say to you, if you've got any blogs or newsletters that you subscribe to, pop them into the Q&A so that we can see them, and I can share that with everybody else as well. All right, so my second tip for you is actually going old school, is books. So the university library has got a whole bunch of books. So if I come in here and I search for something like Excel 2013, she says she hasn't rehearsed this, so hopefully this is going to work. Yay, there you go, 101 Excel tips. We've got Excel 23 formulas, all sorts of things in here. So our library is a great resource. Now you might think that is really old school, but I recently had to start using Microsoft Project. I hadn't used it, so there's a particular job role that I had that meant that I would need to know Project quite well, and I had never even opened it. So what I did is I got a book, and I took some time, and I started at page 1, and it was a book that also had downloadable exercises, and I worked through the book, and by the end of it, I knew Project pretty well. So it might seem quite old school, but books are full of really great stuff, and they can be really comprehensive, and they're normally written in quite a good way. So find a style that you like. There are the For Dummies books. There's the simplified books. There's the ones that come with all the colour, with the lots of colourful pictures and that sort of thing. There are so find a style that you like. And then you'll find that there's all sorts of stuff available there. One of the things that's even good to have a look at is, let's go into the Excel. Is it going to let me go into the Excel 2013 Bible? Is even coming and looking at the, let me just go into the full text. Is even just looking at the chapter headings. So even just going through and looking at the index at the front, sorry, not the table of contents, is because that table of contents will show you the sort of things that maybe you need to know. So you don't have to read the whole book. You could go into introducing tables. What's tables about? I didn't even know tables was a thing. Okay, why don't I go and have a look at what is the table? So even just having a look through this, it's kind of giving you a list of topics that you should know about. Okay, so it's a really useful place to start. You don't have to learn everything, but just going into things like, okay, so he's talking about printing your work. Oh, look, adding headers and footers. I didn't even know you could add headers and footers. All right, so maybe I want to learn about that. Or maybe you go, well, I don't care about that. So even just reading through the table of contents on a book, or maybe reading a course outline for an online course or for a face-to-face course, you don't necessarily have to attend it, but you can see the sort of things that an expert is saying you should know this stuff. Okay. So that for me is my second big tip for you about free ways of learning about Microsoft Office, is looking at books. So either reading the books, but really that table of contents is such a useful place to start, because it's the unknown unknowns, isn't it? You don't know what you don't know, and you don't, if you don't even know something is capable of doing it, then you're not going to be able to research it. It's all very well saying all of this information is available via Google, which it absolutely 100% is, but if you don't know to look for something, then that doesn't help. Okay. All right. My next tip for you is our online courses. So we have some online courses available to you. They're currently in Blackboard. We will be moving them to Canvas in the not too distant, but these are free, and they are available to anybody with an A number, and you can come in here and let me, for example, show you our Excel course. Okay, so what we've done here is essentially we've curated content from the internet. So the internet is full of really great stuff. But again, if you don't know that you need to search for it, you're not going to find it. If you don't know that it's capable of doing something, then you're not going to find it. So with these ones, again, I would start with the essentials. And you'll find there's all sorts of stuff in here which you might not think of as an essential, but we do. So these are things that you really must know how to do. Okay, so we've got all sorts of stuff in there. When we've got these things like formulas and functions as well. So we've got all this from starting completely to describing what a formula is, all the way through to how to fix them. Comprehensive list of the functions are available, and then we've also got some of our favorite functions, for example, as well. So we've got here it's a bunch of videos, but we've even got there a practice file for this module as well. Okay, so if you want to sign up for these, you can either go onto the course booking system and express your interest, and we'll give you access, or you can email us as it.training@adelaide.edu.au. We currently have ones for Excel, for Word, and for PowerPoint. No, for Outlook, sorry, the PowerPoint one is in development. Okay. You'll also find, so we have some stuff in here. This is actually, as I say, this is curated content. A lot of it is from Microsoft. So Microsoft offer lots of training themselves, but what I found with their training is it's not curated in the same way. So they haven't got the learning sequences laid out for you. You have to know what you want to do in order to go and find the training, if that makes sense. But you'll find that there are also, it's worth going and having a look on sort of MOOC platforms, so edX and Coursera and places like that, because they also have lots of free training, which again will be targeted at a particular audience and aimed in a particular way. All right, so that was my third tip. So far we've looked at blogs and newsletters. We've talked about books, and in particular the table of contents of books. We've got our online courses. And so my next tip is about using the online forums. Okay, so let's go here. When you may or may not know this, but I'm a thing called a PowerPoint MVP. An MVP is the most valuable professional. This is an annual award that's given out by Microsoft to technical leaders of the community. So we are people who know their products better than they do, mostly, and we know their products really well, and we share our knowledge, our real-world experience with people freely. And we do that through things like forums and writing blogs and doing webinars and things like that, and talking at conferences, all sorts of different things. I've been an MVP for 10 years now, and how I got the level of knowledge that you need in order to become an MVP was I used to hang out on forums. I used to lurk. So I was running a business, and I was helping people with presentations. And I needed to get to know PowerPoint a little better than I did. So I would just go and lurk. At the time, they were it was actually user groups, and they've now turned into forums. And I would go and I would have a look at the sort of questions that people are asking. And I would go, I didn't even know that was a question you could ask. You know, people are coming here because they've got problems with something. And the fact that people are asking about how to repeat an outline slide throughout a presentation with formatting changes. What, I didn't even know it was capable of doing that. So if you come in here and have a look through some of those questions, exporting video from PowerPoint, who even knew, introducing audio pops, what even is that? Who even knew you could create, you mean I can create videos from PowerPoint? So forums are a really great way to see the kind of questions that people from people who are quite new to people who are experts, the kind of questions that they're asking. And it was actually through hanging out on those forums and reading the kind of questions, suddenly realizing I didn't know anything about PowerPoint. I thought I knew PowerPoint really well. I suddenly realized I knew nothing about PowerPoint, and I went away and did a bit more research. And then I actually started to answer questions, because many of the experts, those other MVPs, were based in the States. And so when the states were sleeping, I would go on and start answering questions. And they noticed, and they nominated, the other MVPs noticed me and nominated me to Microsoft, and then I became an MVP and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so these places, it's a really good place to come and find out. Do not go to a paid forum, by the way. There are lots of people, there are some very dodgy people on the internet. I know. Who knew, right? There are dodgy people on the internet. But there are dodgy people on the internet, and they suck the questions and answers off these free forums, and they charge you for them. So don't fall for it. If anybody wants to charge you money to answer your questions, then don't give them money. They're dodgy. One of the other things about forums is not only can you come here and hang out and have a look at what's going on, what questions people are asking, you can actually ask your own questions as well. So you can go in, you can see that there are these things called forum articles. So the forum articles are a good place to come and have a look. There you go, create your own graphics with bursts and stars. Oh, I've read that one. Set vertical alignment of text. Oh yeah, that's a good one to know, except you shouldn't have text in your PowerPoint files, but that's a different webinar. But yeah, you've got discussions and questions here as well. So you can even pose questions. Right. So that was my fourth tip. So blogs and newsletters, books, and just even tables of contents of books, and looking at our online courses, other online courses, curated ones. There are lots of free ones. The forums, and my final tip for you is explore. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Let me just come in. I've got Word open here. So one of the best ways to get to know a new piece of software, and people who use a lot of software a lot of the time, this is the way I get to know it, is just to have a look around. So I can come in here, and the way that, by the way, that Microsoft have got this laid out is that they have got the most popular commands over at the left-hand side, getting to less and less popular. So the less and less that they're used over to the right-hand side. That doesn't mean these ones over here aren't useful, because actually the selection pane is really useful. So selection pane is particularly useful. But the one that's used the most is paste. So copy and paste are the most used functions in Microsoft Office. Don't know if you knew that. So then they have these tabs. So one of the things to do is to come in here and go, okay, so this is my home tab. This is the stuff they think that I'll be using a great deal of time. Then we've got the insert tab. So inserting cover page. What's a cover page? Let's go have a look. Ooh. So one of the most important things you can do for yourself is give yourself some time. So maybe say to yourself, I'm going to spend half an hour a week just, learning Microsoft Office. Or you might say to yourself, I'm going to spend an afternoon looking at something. So you explore around and you go, oh, look, they've got Wikipedia. Who knew that? Oh, I can insert online videos. And what on earth is a quick part? Oh, what is auto text? What does this mean? I can insert, what's a building blocks organizer? What on earth is this? What's this? Pre-built things. Look at these pre-built things that we've got in here. Oh, document title, isn't that pretty? Okay, so have a little bit of an explore about. Now, some tips that I have for you here as well. Again, we've got the design ones, got referencing, mailings, and so on. One of the things that I would give you a few tips on is anywhere you see this tiny little thing here. Can you see I've got a tiny little thing there? That's a launcher. What that means is there is more stuff. So this is where we've got things like, in this case, superscript and subscript, and then we've got advanced. So you've got things like your character spacing, kerning, and all that sort of thing is in there too. So anywhere where you see one of these little things, that means there is more stuff in there. Another thing is when you hover over, you should find that you have got, it gives you bits of information, and there's even then a little tell me more. So you can, it'll connect you to help. And it tells you a little bit about that particular feature. Okay. Another good place to go and look in a new piece of software is file options. File on and above phone, you might see you get that little cog wheel, or you get the sort of 3 lines. And this is where they also hide good stuff. Advanced is one of my favorite places to look, because that's where they put stuff they don't know where else to put. So you find out you've got all of these different ways that you can control. And again, it's a bit like that, exploring and going, I don't know what that means. How am I going to find out what that means? Well, I might find there's actually a little bit of information in there, or I might then be able to Google it. Because as I was saying earlier, Google, there's lots of stuff that you can get through, the internet search provider of your choice, where you'll find lots of great information. But if you don't know what you're looking for, that's not a great place to start. So just spending some time exploring is really worthwhile. And there is this new feature. It says here, tell me what you want to do. And I have actually, Microsoft Help used to be really, really bad. Can I just say, I think it's getting a lot better. It's actually quite useful now. So I'm going to come in here and I could say, what do I want to do? I want to add a table of contents. So I could just type in here, table, and there we go. You see we've got table of contents. So it's even just showing me, I don't even have to learn anymore whereabouts in the user interface that thing is. So I don't have to know that table of contents, because I can never remember. Is that on insert or is it on references? I can never remember. It's a thing I want to insert, but then again, it's references. So I could just come in here and if I type table of contents, it's going to open it. But I can also, if I say table of contents, you'll see it, contents, it's then got get help on table of contents. And again, I didn't rehearse this. Here we go. Create a table of contents, update a table of contents, format or customize. Oh, I want to customize. I didn't know I could customize my table of contents. And I can come in here and I can have a look at the help. I can actually maximize this if I want to as well. And I can scroll through, and who knew that there's all this sort of stuff that you could do in a table of contents. And then also it's got things like, so it's got a link to a video if you'd rather watch a video. It's got the link to help us improve. So if there's features that you want, you can let them know. You've also then got insert table of figures and that sort of thing. So the help is pretty useful, and you can access that now through this little thing here. Otherwise, it's F1. So F1 will also always open help for you as well. That works in every piece of software I've ever used. And another thing I would say around that exploration, if you just don't want to do open-ended exploration, think about a thing you're trying to do. Because any of you who've attended some of my HDR lectures will have heard me say this before, but you're not that unique. I'm really sorry, you're very special, but you're not that unique. If you can think of it, if you're trying to get a document or a spreadsheet or Outlook to do something, you're probably not the first person in the world who's tried to get it to do that. So if you've got a particular thing you're trying to achieve, or a particular thing that takes you 25 clicks to do, stop for a moment and take 5 minutes to either search the help or to go onto Google and search for it there, because probably somebody else has already thought of it, and either Word is capable, or sorry, whatever Office product it is you're using is capable, or it's not capable. If it's not capable, it may be that somebody has either come up with a workaround, or they might even have created an add-in. So an add-in is a little thing that extends the use of your program. So it's a little thing that helps your program do something that it doesn't do natively, so it doesn't already do. Okay. So please take the time to go and have a look. Microsoft, when they released a report, when they moved to this new interface with the tabs, they released some stats around the requests for new features that they get. So the requests for new features that they get, there was 90-something%. I can't remember how much it was. It was absolutely shocking. It was in the 90s. 90-something% of features that people requested already existed. So it's there, it can do it. So please make sure you spend that time just searching for it, or having a look, having a poke about, or going and getting some help, or go and ask on the forums. Okay. So those were my free top tips for using Microsoft Office and learning about using Microsoft Office. So again, let's put my video back on. Hello, everyone. Again, we had a look at blogs. so subscribing to blogs or newsletters, because it gives that real context, and they're written in a more friendly way, and you can dip in and out. So with newsletters, I have a rule in Outlook that puts all of my newsletters into a newsletter folder, and then I can just look at them when I want to, and I only click through on things that interest me, that pique my interest, because again, it's that unknown unknowns, right? The second tip was the books. So our library has a huge amount of books and articles within it, and they are free for you to borrow, even looking at the table of contents. So you don't have to read a book to beginning to end like I did once for project, but you can at least look at that table of contents, because again, it's just trying to expose you to what it's capable of, so that you then can pick and choose which bits you think will be of interest to you. We've got our online courses, so we have those. That's curated content from the web and a few little things that we've built as well, but please do go in there, and if you do, please give us feedback. So if there's stuff that you'd like to see included that you can't find in there, please let us know, particularly because we are about to move them to Canva, so in the next few months, so we'd really like to hear your feedback. it.training@adelaide.edu.au to gain access to those as well. There is those forums, so just going and seeing the kind of questions that people ask can also expose you to things that you didn't even know something was capable of. It's also a place where you can go for troubleshooting, or if you're trying to achieve something and you don't have a lot of time, you can go and ask on the forums. A little bit of etiquette for you: if you do go onto the forums and ask a question and somebody answers that question, please say thank you, because they're all volunteers. Nobody on there is getting paid. There are a few Microsoft employees lurking about, but mostly it's volunteers, people giving up their time to do it. So be polite. And it's not their fault if you don't like the answer as well. I'll say that to you. And then finally, give yourself some time. So take some time and explore. Just explore around the program to see the kind of options that are available there, and as well, use that help functionality. Remember that while you're very special, you're not unique. So probably someone else has thought of it. So stop and think and explore. Okay. All right. So that brings us to the end of this particular webinar. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the Q&A. I'm just going to launch a quick poll to say, hang on, sorry, here we go. There we go. So we do appreciate your feedback. So just while I'm waiting to see if anybody has got any questions, I would ask you to vote in our poll. Thank you. If you do have any ideas for any other webinars, please get in touch, it.training@adelaide.edu.au. And we will see if we can include it. So we should have on the webinar page, we should have it up to date by the end of the week with what's coming up. So if you'd like to have some input into that, we would appreciate it. Okay. I am going to just end that poll. Thank you for voting. I'm going to end that poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. So if no one's got any questions, you can raise your hand right now if you're frantically typing a question. But if not, we will end the webinar. Oh, great. Okie dokie then. In that case, we will see you next time. Bye.